Welcome back to The Biggest Talk. For all you listeners tuning in for the first time, we break down some of the most influential bestsellers of our generation and read them so you don't have to. We're your hosts,
Ira.
Sebastian.
and Harrison.
For this podcast, we are going to be continuing on with Broke Millennial by Aaron Lowry. And what are we going to talk about today, Sebastian?
Me. We're going to talk about me. No, we're going to talk about how to get naked with your partner. Financially. Oh, you guys thought it was dirty video. Not today. So we're getting financially naked. What does that mean? Well, it means, what are you going to do with your money? Are you going to spend it, homie? Or So it's really about when you put your money together with your partner, some people choose not to, and they just choose to like spend it on their own and just hopefully things work out. Or how
Hopefully
much you
things
share.
work out.
Yeah.
That sounds like such a terrible
You're
statement.
like, oh, I just thought the money was going to rent, but apparently he's going out with his homies every night. So
there you go.
how much do you put together? How much do you keep apart? What are you spending it on? What are your goals, short term, long term? How do you figure that out?
Right, and I think to tackle this problem, it's a little bit rooted in terms of communication and
Very.
trust, because I feel like as a guy, you want to always provide the most you can for your significant other. And personally for me, this is a huge issue that I had in the beginning of my relationship with my current girlfriend, 3 years now, that I was kind of spending much more than I was allowing myself to. And then I found myself running through my savings pretty quickly. And then this is obviously before, if you guys didn't check out our last episode about budgeting, right? Before I began budgeting, I found myself, running through a lot of cash because, like Ira said, I got my first job when I was 15 and a half. I was, I was working at a boba tea shop, a little mom and pop boba tea shop. And all of a sudden I felt empowered because, like I said, like Ira said, that there's a roof over your head and all these other things that I can go and spend my money, right? And when it came to my girlfriend, I wasn't hesitating on, buying things at Disneyland. They're super expensive.
Super
food.
priced.
They're like $6 water bottles and all that kind of stuff.
$20 churros.
Right. And not only that, but like daily things that you don't need, like Starbucks, right? I don't actually need Starbucks. I don't need to spend $5 on Starbucks, but it's nice, right? It's a nice luxury that you can have every week.
That's nice.
And when you're not financially naked with your partner, you become controlled by your money, essentially.
Yeah.
Because you want to give the best to your significant other always, but you find yourself extending that boundary, extending that reasoning, and lying to yourself. Right?
And I think that's because they don't understand how much you're really providing for them, because it's such a common thing, like you said, like just eating out. Like you could do that on your own and not realize how much it adds up.
Right.
Same for them. When you're paying for them, they don't really realize how much you're actually, how much of your paycheck goes towards providing for them, and those kind of little things like eating out, Starbucks, etc.
Definitely. But I think for me, I was more focused on myself. I mean, with what you said, it kind of depends on your significant other, right? Whether or not they truly appreciate your what you're giving them, and they understand the amount of money that you are spending every month. But for me, luckily enough, right, when I became financially naked with my girlfriend, when it came to a point where, hey babe, I can't afford this, right? I can't pay for Starbucks all the time. I can't do this. I can't do that. We can't go to Disneyland and spend money, right? Like we have been. Of course, it was a difficult conversation to have, but you gotta think like, well, what if we never had that conversation? Like, what kind of financial situation would you be? Because you gotta think you're not living with this person for the next couple of months. Hopefully, when you guys are dating to marry this person, and that's how I've always been. And for me, like looking into the future, like I can't spend money like this when I'm married. Just because she doesn't know exactly how much money I have, it doesn't mean that it enables me to spend more and more and more and pretend like I have more money than I actually do. Right?
Not only that, Harrison and Sebastian, like how you guys are talking about providing for your significant other. Like nowadays, in relationships, girls are more inclined to as well provide and put money into the relationship as well.
Like splitting the check, right?
Yeah, but even then, at that point, it's important to be financially naked with your partner, because communication is key in relationships when it comes to anything, especially to be financially sound. You two are not building your own separate paths. You are building a path together as a couple, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to be on different financial goals, because then you're going to stray off towards different paths. Yeah. And then this will lead to complications down the line. So that's why it is so important to be financially naked with your partner, because you are working for each other, not just for yourselves. And in doing this, it's important to make sure you sit down, you establish your goals financially with your significant other. Make sure you guys are on the same page.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Making sure that you guys are spending within your means,
Yeah.
and then just making sure you both are aware of how much money you guys have, how much money is coming in, how much money is going out every month, and what kind of situation are you going to be in the future.
Yeah, because I noticed with a lot of older generations, it was more the financial part of the family was more left to one head of the family.
Right.
Like,
Definitely.
it could be the dad or it could be the mom, but it was usually on one person. And then when there were times where the other person would want to input, sometimes that could lead to complications and like little arguments and frustration, which could all be avoided if both people in the relationship are on the same page financially and they are financially naked with each other.
Definitely.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with allowing one person
with one person handling
control the
family's
money,
finances,
because really, when it comes to people, there's either you're a saver, you're a spender.
Yeah.
And in my relationship, my girlfriend happens to be more of a saver than I am, and I'm more of a spender than she is. And for me, I'm always like, okay, well, if you really want it, let's buy it, right? And she's like, well, it's this amount of money. I don't think it's really that worth it, and we don't end up getting it. Or if there's situations like, okay, well, why don't we just cut down our costs? Like, she's like, there should be a person who, and personally, I think the best relationships are when there's one spender and one saver. You can't have two savers and then you guys live on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches the rest of your life. You can't live with two
10 million in the bank account.
Exactly.
So, whoa.
Vacation?
A little extra jelly on there or
Exactly.
what?
That was 3 cents more. But you can't also live with two spenders, otherwise you won't be living in a home and you won't be living in a
Exactly, yeah.
right.
It's finding that line.
Cardboard box.
Exactly. So I don't think there's an issue with having one person handle the finances if you truly believe that they're the better individual out of the two of you. But that also, in order to achieve that, you have to be financially naked with, hey, this is how much money I'm making every month. I know that you're going to be handling the money. So this is what I have coming in. Like, you got to figure out how to budget that. And even to take that first step of admitting how much money that you actually make to your significant other, although it might seem basic, right? But people always get kind of finicky when it comes to money, when they are alone or when they are even in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship and they don't set the boundary for themselves. And then that's why you hear a lot of people like, oh, I spent too much money on him, or I spent too much money on her.
Yeah.
And like, now our relationship's done and I can't get that money back, right?
Yeah. Like, an example for a good way to handle it would be when it comes to average bills that, the family pays. My dad in our family is the one who handles about like making sure that those bills get paid.
Right.
He writes the checks out for them, or he pays them off online. But whenever it comes down to bigger business or bigger financial decisions, my dad and my mom, they always spend time to communicate about it with each other.
Right.
My dad doesn't just go like, oh, I'm the one who does the other stuff, so let me just handle this one too.
Right. Right.
Whenever there's a big money decision, they always communicate it out first, which is a really good thing to do.
Yeah,
Definitely.
like, as long as there's a strategy that you guys are agreeing on, a goal that you agree on, then it's fine if one person just handles it. And like you said, those bigger financial decisions where it might not be super clear on what the popular opinion is, you talk about it and figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and even more importance on the issue, the primary causes of divorce are due to financial reasons. And you see ourselves in our time that we're reaching about a 50% divorce rate, and personally that breaks my heart. I think that's really sad, to have two people come to a union but realize that or not even realize but discover that their own habits are what really drives them apart from each other, and they can't be mature and overlook. Of course there are exceptions, but I feel like when people are financially naked with each other and you guys are following a budgeting plan and you spend within your means, you won't find yourself in a term or you won't find yourself in a situation to where you're resentful towards your significant other for either spending too much or not allowing you to spend too much. And I feel like even in my relationship, I have an X amount of money set aside, like, okay, this is how much I'm willing to spend, and I'm not going to feel bad if I spend all of it, because when you're budgeting correctly, when you're investing correctly, when you have money set aside in areas that you should, all of a sudden the money on hand becomes less less expensive to lose,
Yeah.
I guess, if that makes sense. Because if you're in a really tight position, that $1 might feel like $5 to you.
Yeah.
But when you're in a good position, it's just like, you know, how we talk about, oh, actors spend their money on this and that, and it's completely, you know, irrelevant. Like, oh, how come they're eating a $200 lobster tail,
Yeah.
right? Well, for them, it's, you know, pocket change, $200 pocket change. I have a lot of money, right? It doesn't matter. But for, you know, the poor person on the other hand, it's like $200. Man, that's like asking them to give up $5,000, you know?
Yeah.
So when you are on the same page, when you do realize, when you are effectively analyzing your finances, you realize that a lot of the other issues in your relationship start to fall into place. Because I feel like being financially naked with someone goes so much more deeper than just showing them the numbers, right?
Yeah, because also, like you said, you have to communicate. And if you can communicate about something so tough like money, then like communicating about other things too just becomes so much easier.
Right.
And that, like you said, just the problems just keep getting solved and solved. So I think overall, it's a good stepping stone at the very least to making a better relationship.
Right, a more complete marriage.
It is a really big stepping stone towards building a life together, because nowadays everything runs on money.
Right.
You know? So how are you going
You gotta
to
have
be
it.
successful in a relationship with someone if your ideas of money are totally different, you know?
Yeah.
Like how you were saying, it's good to have a spender and a saver. That's fine, totally fine, if they can agree on the same
Agreed.
Yeah,
thing,
it's the
you know?
same
Agree,
goals. Yeah.
Agree.
But it's not going to work if at the beginning you have the saver and you have the spender, but the spender just wants to do their own decisions with the money
Of course.
and the saver doesn't agree. You know, if they don't agree, that relationship's not going to work.
Right, and I feel like that is the root of a lot of problems, is when one person wants to spend money and the other person wants to save money, and that's why they have a financial dispute, whether or not they feel like the money that they're spending is adequate towards what they're receiving, right? And then I just feel like in general, it's just become so easy to spend money in our time and age. Like Amazon, one click, right? I don't even think twice. I just click it once. Like, okay, see you in 2 days.
Yeah.
Right?
And
So-
before they used to even have like an "Are you sure?" kind of thing. Now it's
Right.
just one click.
One click.
and
Yeah.
you're ready to say, "Oh, thank you for your purchase." Like,
No, like
Oh,
they
man,
have the
it's
option
crazy.
where you don't even need to just add it to your cart. You know, if you're
I know,
buying
just
one
buy.
item,
Just
you
buy.
can literally just click buy now. You know, you don't have to
That's
do
it.
which house is it going to, which card do
Yeah.
you want to send it to.
and your card is already
Is
everything's
this
already
fine?
in.
Yeah,
it. It
everything's
exactly-
already
it
set. They're
says
just
gone.
like,
It's just
okay,
one
here
click.
you go.
Exactly. So not only has it become increasingly easy to spend money, I think it's become increasingly difficult to communicate as well. So, having that pair going on in our generation, I feel like it's even more imperative that we focus on, being financially naked with our
Yeah.
significant other, because that really is the key to the rest of your life, not only tomorrow, because I can pretend like I have $1,000 in the bank today,
Yeah, of course,
and
easy.
live the rest of today. But what about the rest of the month? What about the
Exactly.
rest of the year, right? How am I going to approach that when I'm not being honest, not only with myself, but also with my significant other, making them believe that I can provide a lifestyle that I can't sustain,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And then, like, at the end, like, what happens? You just kind of find yourself in a hole that you either dug because you're so far in debt, or you find yourself in a hole because, all of a sudden your value is based on how much you can provide for your significant other. And I feel like those two things are just terrible positions to be in your life, period.
I think it's a great place to end it.
Yep.
All right. We did not rate Rich Dad Poor Dad, but we definitely are going to give our thoughts on The Broke Millennial. So, Ira, you first. What do you think? Out of 5.
Out of
Out of 5 bread points.
I would say a good 4 out of 5.
Wow.
That's
Because
pretty good. Okay.
some people may think that, again, there's parts where it does run on,
Mm-hmm.
but the reason it runs on is because the points it goes over are very key and essential to understand the fine details of. Like,
sure.
another thing that we didn't really touch upon is credit in the book, which this book really does help outline a plan in handling your credit and making
Yes.
sure you don't get into debt, which I feel with a lot of kids nowadays is very essential to know. So that's why I
Right,
give 4 out of 5.
I give it a 3 because it did have a lot of very useful facts that I could take away.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like anybody could have wrote this book. So for the author, it's like it wasn't very unique in a sense. Like I didn't really care too much about her story she was telling, or like it was just the facts, and you could read that out of a textbook, So
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it, I'm going to meet you guys in the middle. I'm going to give it a 3 and, a half of a loaf, because in
Half
my
of a loaf.
just in my opinion, like you said, there's a lot of good points that she was hitting, but like Ira also said, like it was droning on a little bit, but I also do appreciate the amount of content that was provided in the book.
Yeah.
So for that reason, it's not a 3, it's not a 4, but you know, in the middle, 3.5 loaves.
Sure, for
right.
sure.
So if there's anything that you guys liked, please leave a comment in the section below. If you guys are not subscribed yet, subscribe now and leave a like on the video. We'll see you next time.
Let's go out and get better at it.